Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. Guys, we are taking a look today at a trade update as the New York Islanders have sent defenseman Nick Leddy to the Detroit Red Wings. We'll be taking a look at the details of this trade, why these teams made this trade. We'll be going over all of that in this video. So let's get right into it. So the Detroit Red Wings acquire Nick Leddy, 30 years old. He has 31 points this past season in 56 games with the New York Islanders. He's a top four defenseman, and he's a fast puck-moving skater. Now, this is the second consecutive offseason the Islanders have lost fast puck-moving defensemen. Last season, they lost Devon Toews, who went to the Colorado Avalanche for 2 second-round picks. And now the Islanders are moving on from Nick Leddy. Now, Nick Leddy's contract is $5.5 million, and that contract will be finished next season. This is a move where, if you're the Red Wings' Steve Yzerman, you look and see how he fits in your lineup this season, and worst case, you move him out at the trade deadline next year. Best case, you keep him around, and you stick around, and you keep him long term. That's probably what the Red Wings are thinking here in acquiring Nick Leddy. And so they acquire Nick Leddy. The New York Islanders, what do the Islanders get in return for Leddy? The Islanders get Richard Panik, a 30-year-old winger. He had 13 points in 48 games between the Capitals and the Red Wings last season. In the final dozen games that he played with the Detroit Red Wings post-trade deadline, he did only get 3 points. But he did get 13 points in 48 games. Panik's definitely a different player than Nick Leddy. He's a forward, more of a bottom six forward at this point, and he kind of reminds me of Valtteri Filppula, who the Islanders had a couple years back, and he ended up going back to Detroit, which is quite fitting, but he's that kind of player, and I think that's what the Islanders are hoping to get out of him. Again, his cap hit comes in at $1.375 million per season. Now, that contract will end in 2 years, in the summer of 2023. I was quite nervous when the first reports were coming out that the Islanders traded and they got Richard Panik in this deal, because he has one of the weaker contracts in the league. It was at 2.75, and the Islanders were able to cut that in half. And now this looks like a lot better trade because of that. And it seems like, it's just $1 million. It does mean something, though. And the Islanders also acquire a 2020 second-round pick, which the Edmonton Oilers it's the Edmonton Oilers second-round pick that the Red Wings traded for in the Andreas Athanasiou trade we saw earlier this year. So this is definitely a good trade for both teams. Now, some of you may be saying the Islanders lost Nick Leddy, and this isn't a great trade. This is kind of like the Ryan Graves trade we saw with the Avalanche and the New Jersey Devils the other day. It's not really that far different. Now, there's a couple key things for the Islanders here. The Islanders save $4.25 million on the cap this year from making this move. And that's huge. That could be the difference between the Islanders re-signing a guy like Anthony Beauvillier or Ilya Sorokin. That gives you that money right there. And you also add a bottom six winger. We know the Islanders were talking about maybe going after a guy like Zach Parise, maybe going after some other guys in free agency this year. They may be more expensive than the $1.375 that we're seeing here from Filppula. I keep saying Filppula because he reminds me of Filppula. Richard Panik. That is going to be, a decent contract at $1.375 in your bottom six. It's definitely a lot cheaper than the 3.5 in Clutterbuck, the 1.75 or 2.5 to Matt Martin. It's definitely a cheaper bottom six with a guy like Richard Panik on it, and he might fit well alongside the Jean-Gabriel Pageau line. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, the Isles likely won't overpay for a bottom six forward this summer. And the Isles also don't lose Nick Leddy for nothing to the Seattle Kraken, later today at this point. So this is a good move for the Islanders in that sense. And the Red Wings, they retain 50% of Panik's deal. Like I mentioned, that is a pretty big factor in this trade because the Islanders do save some cap space. And they acquired a draft pick for a guy they would have lost for nothing, so not too bad. The Wings get a puck-moving defenseman here in Nick Leddy, who's definitely going to help that back end, which has been just brutal to watch the last couple of years. Mark Stahl on that blue line. The remnants of Troy Stetcher, which, don't get me wrong, he had a good season last year, but he is not anywhere near the type of player that a guy like Nick Leddy is. And now as you start to bring in some of your depth guys, as we're going to see more of, Philip Hronek in the lineup as they try and hopefully get rid of guys like Danny DeKeyser. We see more of Moritz Seider potentially next year. The Red Wings are starting to go in a different direction on their blue line. And Nick Leddy could help add some veteran leadership, experience in the playoffs. And he's also got that ability to bring the puck up and be a serviceable defenseman to create some offense from the back end, which the Red Wings desperately need. And the Red Wings can also protect Nick Leddy. They don't have to worry about really not having him not protected, unlike the Islanders, who the Islanders now can officially say they are going to protect Ryan Pulock, Scott Mayfield, and Adam Pelech with no questions asked. And they're probably going to go with the 12-player system. You have 3 defensemen, and you could keep 9 forwards, and that just seems to make sense for the Islanders at this point. So that comes the question. This is the question I always like to throw in these trade acquisitions. Who won the trade? Who lost the trade? Usually what I go with is who got the best player. And as of right now, Nick Leddy is the best player in the trade. So you could say the Red Wings won the trade, but from the Islanders' standpoint, this wasn't necessarily a trade they were looking to win. It was more, would I rather lose Nick Leddy for nothing in the expansion draft, or would I rather move the cap space, know it's guaranteed, and make sure that I, get something for him than rather for nothing, which they would have lost from Seattle. So it makes sense why the Islanders made this trade. Lou Lamoriello, again, making a good move. This is a good trade, though, for the Red Wings. I mean, Steve Yzerman, I was a little nervous because we know how Steve Yzerman definitely tends to bring in players and kind of sleaze the other team of guys. I don't think Lou is too keen on losing trades either. So you see 2 very, very knowledgeable veteran general managers making a pretty smart deal for both sides. So we're starting to see the Red Wings maybe come out of the rebuild a little bit, considering they traded a second-round pick in this year's draft to acquire Nick Leddy. So maybe we're seeing a little bit of investment by the Red Wings and the ownership saying, hey, you know what? We're going to start knocking on the door here. We maybe want to start making the talk about the playoffs eventually back here in Detroit, and they could maybe start to do that with a guy like Nick Leddy. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. The Red Wings, in my opinion, won the trade, but if you ask any Islander fans, I don't think the Islanders are too upset exactly with what they got here. And again, it's saving cap space. It's one less guy that you get an asset for, which you would have lost for nothing. And for the Red Wings, it's another guy they can protect, take advantage of their ability to protect more players, and they're able to move on from Richard Panik, which that contract kind of hurt them. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And if you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news, especially here before the Seattle Kraken expansion draft, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.